Everybody's Jake Senzano, host Jake Gino podcast here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, the father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy. Gino Barber. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I hope you can appreciate the shirt that I'm wearing for you for this Pseudo Monday.
It doesn't look like a blue-collar shirt. It looks like a snobby thing you got going on.
It doesn't.
There,
but at least I wanted to liven it up a little bit today. I wanted to, make your Pseudo Monday go well. How you doing, brother?
What's the word? I think everyone is using bougie. Gino, you looking bougie? Doing good, man. Always making it happen. Today's guest is a blue-collar entrepreneur, best-selling author of Blue Collar Cash, and mentor who helps people design the life they want without a 4-year degree. Wow. It's very timely, right? We'll say that. With decades of experience building successful businesses, he inspires others to create comfort, peace, and freedom through meaningful work and practical financial wisdom. So without further ado, Ken Rusk, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Welcome to Pseudo Monday, as it is.
That's right. Day after Labor Day. So Gino's going to want to be your friend and get to know you and all that. But my first question is here. When did you realize we were entering the Mike Rowe dirty jobs economy and that you had something with this blue collar message? I don't even know what your message is yet, but I have a feeling here. So I just, did you have a crystal ball? Because blue collar is here. Tech jobs are waning. People are higher, the normal, the displacement. So go weld it up, baby. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I first started writing Blue Collar Cash about 8 years ago, and even before then, when you run a bunch of ditch diggers like I do, and I'm proudly one of them. I have been since I was 15. You tend to become an involuntary life coach. Okay, whether you like it or not. And I don't have any letters after my name. I don't have any formal training. I never went to college, so I had to coach people just from what I knew. And
in what sense?
Well, you're helping people out with their first job, their first apartment, their first checking account, their first visa, getting their driver's license cleaned up, all that kind of stuff. And it got me really thinking a long time ago about, hey, there's a lot of people out there that can create some really awesome lives without having to go this traditional route that vortexes you into a bunch of debt in 4 years of your time. So, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. It started with coaching 25, 30 years ago, and it ended up being and running into this book somehow, which I still have no idea how that happened, but it worked out okay.
Okay, how did you get into the construction business? Were you one of those guys who was not employable, who didn't want to go to college and just said, I'm going to get kicked out of the house, I need to do something? Is that how you got into construction?
My father said to me when I started 15 digging ditches in the summertime, and in the wintertime, I worked in the office at a building that was literally right next door to my high school. So I kind of learned both sides of the house, if you will. And when I was 18, they came to me and they said, look, we know you're thinking about going to college or whatever, but we're going to start opening franchises and we want you to help us do that. So I went to my father and said, what do I do? He said, listen, they're going to allow you to go open businesses on other people's dime and make mistake on other people's dimes and that kind of thing. That could be as good a college as college could ever be. So
not even close.
You can always go back to school. So he said, take the shot. I did. I lived out of a suitcase for 4 years and then started here in Toledo, Ohio with 6 people. And I think we just crossed 225 the other day. So it's been a hell of a ride.
When Dad said that to you, what were your friends doing? They all going to college? Did you feel like, oh, I'm going to miss out on some fun? What were your initial thoughts?
Small time Amherst, Ohio, small time Northfield, Ohio. When I was in Econ 101, I think it was in 10th grade, the teacher said, raise your hand if you're going to college. And only about half of us did. So it wasn't a real shock that I wasn't going to school. I mean, we didn't have a bunch of money to go to some fancy school and just party all the time anyway. So I didn't think I was missing out on anything. Plus, I loved working with my hands and I loved controlling my own destiny and not having anybody tell me what to do. So it worked out better for me just to go out and get dirty and work it out that way.
I got 2 questions. The first one is, what did you learn in those 4 years that really supplanted anything that you may have learned in college? And number 2, why do we look down upon people who work with their hands today. As they, 30 years ago, it was pretty cool to work in construction. Now it's almost as if, you see Gavin Newsom saying, well, we can't get guys. You don't see guys like me doing that kind of work today. I find it to be very interesting, like all these cues that we get. But I'd love to get the answer to the first question and then really dive into that second question as well.
Well, the first question, what did I learn? When you have to go out and face off, I was at the time, 5'6", 160 pounds. And I had to face off against this 6'5", 250-pound union plumber in downtown Chicago building out an office building. So, you just get thrown into the fire and you get used to it. But the thing that I had in my pocket was I knew that I had to replicate the success of the office that I had come from, where I was born and raised. So all I did was think of, well, what does that look like? Okay, well, let's just replicate what that looks like. So I had the advantage over anybody that was, trying to run me around because I knew what the end product should be. So I just copied it over and over and over. Cincinnati, Columbus, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it was kind of a cool thing because I knew what the end product was. So I just had to make that work. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as your question about blue collar, colleges have done a really, really good job of hoodwinking the American public because if you look at today, out of the 165 million people that are considered full employment in the United States, 77 million of those people still work with their hands. And yet, a college would have you to believe that if the only way you can be successful is if you come through me, if you come through my school, if you pay my tuitions. And so if you couple that up with the fact that kids don't typically play out in the yard anymore, they stare at these stupid screens for 6 hours a day, so they don't have the tool set and the skill set to do those kinds of things. And then parents, they're thinking, wow, if my kid doesn't go to college, they're going to be flipping burgers the rest of their life. And none of that is true. So you have like this perfect vortex, this almost perfect storm of, let's just follow the herd right through 4-year degree school. And it's really never been true. And it's certainly not true today and only getting less true as we move forward.
When you left and you got your suitcase unpacked and went home, is that when you started the business or you started working with Pops and started getting into your own construction business?
No, I went right from teaching other people how to build a company to going and building my own. I literally was 23 years old when I moved to Toledo, Ohio. And I said, this is it. I had a $50,000 credit line that some dumb bank gave me. And I said, okay, well, I shouldn't say dumb bank because I look back on it fondly, but I couldn't believe that they did. They took that risk on me. And I said, listen, we're going to either run out of 50,000 and go home with our tail between our legs, or we're going to make this work. So yeah, we did it one employee at a time, 6, 10, 15, 20, and then made it work. And
what was the specialty? What do you guys do?
So we literally do anything with a basement or a crawl space. So I can do just a sump pump all the way to jacking up the house, ripping the basement out, putting a new basement in, and setting the house back down. So we dig a lot of ditches in our world. Yeah, that's who we are.
I got a question for you, Ken. The bank may be dumb giving you a $50,000 line of credit, but who's dumber giving an 18-year-old an unsecured loan of over $200,000 when he's only 18? At least you had some kind of skill. At least you had 4 years of experience. My 18-year-old is going to graduate next year. I'm just saying, like, is she ready to take on? And then the whole idea of how that your line of credit, you're paying it back with money you're making. I mean, these people, they graduate and then all of a sudden the clock starts and they thought it was this number, but it's not really that number. It's that number exponential.
And they're going to be functioning alcoholics. Okay.
It's like, holy crap.
One group is going to study and be functioning alcoholics and may dabble in drugs, right? While the other guy is like started a business. It's a no-brainer when you think about it.
I'll tell you one thing about colleges that I think they got away with murder in the sense that they could allow kids to borrow money, as you said, unsecured for their own product, backed by the government, and yet they have no skin in the game when it comes to
no outcomes.
The outcome. So, I mean, can you imagine a college allowing someone to take Eastern European language translation in, some small town, knowing there's no jobs for that anywhere, but they don't care because they got your money and they're moving on to the next kid. If they had to have any skin in the game, you would watch how they would start targeting degrees that people actually need in their region, in their area. And that would be a whole better way to do this, in my opinion.
I want to play devil's advocate because there are kids out there who should go to college.
Sure.
If you want to become a lawyer, you want to become an engineer, you want to become an architect, you want to become a doctor, I think you do need that. I think at the age of 18, it's challenging sometimes to say, hey, I want to do that. But if you know what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the sociology degrees where you have 200 grand in student debt and you end up working at Starbucks and then you hate the world because you were led astray.
Gino, it's so much more than that. You know as well as Ken does is that they were holding it over your head. If you want a good job, go to college. You have to do it. It was this pay-to-play mentality. Think about what they do with realtors. You have to get a realtor license to become a realtor. It's a complete waste of time. It's like a pay-to-play program that is self-serving to the institutions, not the individual, and there's no outcomes.
Well, look at this also. So I did a lot of research for the book, and I'm like you, Gene. I'm not an anti-college guy. If you're gonna cut my shoulder open so I can get back out on the golf course, I want you to know everything there is to know about a knife before you come at me with it. Believe me. But when you look at the results of college today, so 40% of kids go to school not knowing why they're going. Okay. 25% of them, after picking something, they end up changing it to something else. Okay. Mm-hmm. But here's the worst number of all. Only 33% of degrees ever get used ever. So think of that as a business model. You'd go out of business if your product was only used 1/3 of the time and it failed 66% of the time, or was useless or expensive and not used. You couldn't sustain that business model. So it is, I mean, to the right person who has a specific reason to go and a specific job waiting for them, sure, do it. But for the vast majority of people that just go, they want to play beer pong for 4 years.
Well, they said it works for Aaron Judge, right? He hits 300 and he makes a lot of money. We can work for us.
Well, the thing, both of you, that I've been screaming at the top of my lungs for the last 5 years is this conventional wisdom. These people who have conventional wisdom have been wrong on inflation, which is transitory, the border, crime, tariffs, the economy. They've been wrong on everything. Yeah. And they get away with it, which is what bothers me. Like, you need a sledgehammer in this instance. That's the problem. And I think if the guy in office is going to do something about it, they're going to be totally against it. So I think we need somebody with the ability to work with the other side, because we need to rectify this situation, because you are actually starting a generation that is saddled with debt. And they have a mortgage payment before they even own a house. That's the issue that I have here, is you're enslaving a whole generation of people to something, and you're selling them a bill of goods that really is not the bill of goods that you're selling them. That's the thing that really bothers me about this whole situation.
So it's interesting, because I had a conversation with this is probably 2 years ago. I had a conversation with a bunch of moms at this house. We were having a party, and they were all talking about, well, my kid's going here, my kid's going there, my kid's doing this, that kind of thing. And
shut up.
So one of the things I said to him was, I call it the $400,000 swing. I said, okay, so let me just put this in perspective. He's not sure why he's going, and yet he's going to spend $50,000 a year. Okay, that's $200,000 at the end of his 4 years. Hopefully, you're not borrowing that money. Now, he could go right now and get one of these jobs where you may be apprentice for a guy who owns a business, who's about to retire, who wants to give that business to somebody but has no one to leave it to. This kid's going to make $50,000 a year right out of the chute, working his butt off for this particular company and many other opportunities like it. That's a $200,000 in the positive side of his asset base, right? That's a $400,000 swing by the time you're 23, 24 years old. I mean, you at least need to think about that, right? Well, a couple of the moms looked at me and they turned freaking white. Like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
No, they weren't even listening. They just hated you for exposing
that
the
too.
bullshit.
Yeah, they
were not turning white. They were turning red with anger because you were challenging little Timmy's, Stanford degree. So,
Right, exactly. You're probably right.
I'll share a story with the both of you. And for me, it's hard because as a father, I feel the pain on both sides. My third child, she didn't want to go to college. And I felt that tug of society saying you failed as a parent because your kid's not going to college. So she ended up going to massage school. She got her massage license about a little over a year ago. She loves what she's doing. She only paid 8 G's for the degree. She makes $100 an hour.
Right.
Cash.
Right.
And so you work 20 hours a week, it's 2 G's a week. She wants to be a mom. So ultimately, when she gets married, she can still work 10 hours a week and pay the mortgage and the food bills. And on top of that, at the age of 19, she's already invested in 3 of my deals. So she's got 3 K1s. She's got a business checking. She's got a personal checking, and she's got a personal savings. So she's already understood that mindset. Now, if she had gone to college and done something that she thought that dad thought was best for her. So I guess my advice to anybody out there is just really sit down and really speak to your child and ask them what they want, not what you want. Don't project what your hopes and dreams are for your children. That's probably the worst advice that you could give them. Ask them what they truly want and be supportive of them. And if you're an entrepreneur, and like Jake and myself, and you can, that's the path that I chose. I'm teaching her how to sort of live in this world, and she's got options now. Whereas if she had $100,000 in debt and she was saddled,
oh God, that makes my skin crawl even hearing you say that.
Could she stay home? Could she have a family? A lot of those
stressfully, right? She's working 40 hours a week. The husband's working 40 hours a week. The kids, they're paying $1 bazillion to childcare, right? It's just,
it's interesting because I had a story like that kind of started me on the whole book thing. I was renting a car because my car had a dashboard problem, and if you know anything about dashboard problems, they got to go inside and it's weeks, right? So they gave me this car, and I'm waiting for the car to come in. They were going to clean it up, and this kid's standing behind the counter at this rental place, and he's trying to make it. He's got like the 3-piece suit. Each piece was from a different suit. You know what I mean? He's got the sticker on. He's trying to do it. He's trying to do the thing. So he says to me, he goes, my parents told me I had to go to college. I now have 88 grand in debt. I'm here knocking down 28.5 at this car rental place. I really wanted to be a carpenter. And this is what killed me. He goes,
dude, that's sad.
I think I got sold down the river. And he goes, when does my life get to start? And I was like, God, it just tore my heart out because.
Come with me, young man.
I told him, I said, listen, quit right now. Go be a carpenter. I'm just telling you, just leave here right now and go be a carpenter. And he did. You know what I mean? He did. So God bless him. But to your point, he was in the vortex of that system that he might not have got out of that river, man. He might not have got out of that rapids that they jump into. And I'm just glad that people, there's people like us that can give them that advice.
Ken, when you see these employees and they want to transition to becoming an employer, I think that's the challenging part because, Jake and I had that employee mentality. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. What are some of the challenges you see that employees that are transitioning, they've been a great plumber for the first 5-6 years. All of a sudden their boss is leaving and they have the opportunity. What are some of the things that you help them with that they have to really, I guess, overcome to become a really good business owner?
Well, my biggest thing is I don't care whether you're a pink collar, blue collar, white collar, whatever collar you are. Why are you doing it to begin with? Okay. Half of the book is about vision and about seeing what you want your life to look like. And I don't mean in some corny-esque, kind of, psychological way. I'm talking about real blood and guts, vision board, clarity, steps, timed pathways, none of the bullshit, like the real stuff. And I'll say to them, look at it, the entrepreneurial characteristics, I believe, are in every one of us. Persistence, resilience, innovation, faith, courage, humility, generosity, all those kinds of things. I think every one of us has those types of characteristics. We just need a reason for them to come out. And that's why if someone wants to get into a business, I'll say, stop right there and tell me why you're doing it. What do you want your life to look like? Show me that. Because the power of that vision is going to be in a direct proportion to the success that you have. Okay. Otherwise, you might be just doing it to do it, and if you don't have you don't have a rudder, you don't have a direction, you're going to kind of mill around for a while. So I make sure that they have a real strong reason first, and that reason is non-negotiable. It's a have to, not a want to, and then they tend to be pretty focused and succeed from there.
When you're looking at, as a business owner, some of the qualities that you need for an employee, you rattle off a bunch of really good ones. How is someone like Jake and Gino, who's expanding, trying to hire employees? How do we hire good employees, and how do we retain those employees?
Well, this is what, believe it or not, this is what the next book is about. It's about that very thing. I had so many people who read the first one, who said, you know what? We book clubbed this thing in our office, and now we want to try to create the culture that would attract those kind of people. So there's a word out there that sometimes I think I invented because not many people use it. I'm sure I didn't, but it's called intrapreneurship. And that is, you bring people on, you surround yourself with people, and you give them the autonomy and the authority to run their divisions the way they want to within reason. Obviously, you're going to watch over this, but they have input as to their, the input as to quality, as to timing, as to financial, as to scheduling. They have input in controlling their own division, if you will, and they benefit from the profits or the receipts from that division. What that does is it builds an owner-like mentality without their having to go out and take the risk to becoming an owner. So I have so many people that have been here 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years because they feel like they're running their divisions and they can profit and make their life happen for themselves. So in effect, they're working for themselves first and for me second. And when you do that, now you have a group of people who will drive your company way further than you can drive it yourself, I promise you.
Isn't that difficult for a lot of business owners, especially small mom and pops who are like, I got to do it. It's me. It's Jake and Gino. It's not Ken. I mean, like, isn't that really challenging for a lot of us to be able to do that? And how do you break through that?
The very first thing that I talk whenever I'm coaching a business owner, the very first thing that I always say is, listen, you're going to think this is crazy. You're going to think this is controversial, but I just want you to hear me out, okay? You have to make yourself as irrelevant to the company as fast as you can, okay? Because if you're in the day-to-day grinding and doing all that stuff, you can't be up in the helicopter, 20,000 feet looking down, seeing what's coming at you from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years away, okay? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away, all the challenges and all the opportunities. You have to remember that. I'll stand in front of my people and I'll say, listen, guys, I can't get what I want for myself, nor can my company get what it wants or needs until all of you get what you want first. And it's true. I mean, it's true because companies are linear creatures, From the right, you have some human, some product, some build, some ingredients, something that's created. And then a price tag is put to it. A salesman has it in his hands and he sells it. It gets installed, it gets turned on, and then hopefully it gets paid for, and then there's profit. Well, as owners, we're at the end of that line all the time. So you better have everybody in front of you winning as much as they can for themselves. And when you do that, you begin to drop the most important thing that I think most people that run businesses have that hold them back, and that is the ego. They go home on Friday and then, honey, they beat their chest and I did this and I changed that and I yelled at this person, I created that, I motivated this and I built. And I also have high blood pressure, diabetes. I can't remember my kid's first name. But yeah, I'm successful, right? No, you got to drop all of that. You got to build people around you that are as good or better than you are. Hook them in, get them to be part of the process, and then just watch them hang out, watch them flourish and grow, and your company right along with it.
Ken, you've been in the business for 40 years. You've seen a lot of market cycles, ups and downs, and especially the building. What are some of the challenges you experienced in this last, few market cycles that you've been through, and how have you been able to overcome them?
One of the biggest ones was COVID. I mean, I got to be honest with you. When you're running a company for 30 years, you kind of think you know it all and you got it. You think you can steer the ship and you figure out how this all works. And then someone comes up to you and says, by the order of the government, you have to shut down your company, right? So we literally took the words from the governor and we looked at what was eligible businesses, what were essential businesses, and we morphed ourselves into that business. We became a home health atmosphere type of scenario. We did because we were fixing moldy, wet, smelly basements. Okay, so if we improve the health of the house, we're improving the health of the person. So we literally became a home health company. And just kept right on going. In fact, we flourished during that period of time. But
he was dropping the mold and throwing him a few ivermectin while he was at it, Gino.
Well, right? Yeah, I mean, you have to go with what you got, right? So that was probably the biggest challenge that I had faced, and we luckily got right through it pretty well.
Wow. Last question before we go to the short answers.
I love that, dude.
I'm just trying to. And it's something that you can't plan for. It's one of those things where all of a sudden everything changes. what are the differenses? Are there differences, and how do you manage the difference between a quote unquote blue collar worker and a white collar worker? Do you think there are any differences? And if there are, how would you manage them differently?
Within my own organization, I treat them all the same, and I'll tell you why. We have this giant black glass board that's between the bathrooms, right behind me on the other side of that door. And on it, we have these neon markers. And these neon markers are kind of like the ones you'd see on a margarita board outside a Mexican restaurant with the special of the day, right? We have everybody in this building write down something that they're chasing in a very detailed, colorful, concise, and clear way. I'm chasing a new deck for my back of my house. I'm chasing paying off this credit card. I'm chasing going to Europe to see one of my cousins. These are all real goals. I'm chasing, playing golf in Scotland, which was one of mine. I'm chasing all these things, and we have these dates, times, and everything associated with it. So everybody in the building knows that they have to be chasing something in order to work here. And therefore, the people up front in the office are high-fiving the people in the back with the shovels in their hand, and vice versa. Because, the best thing you can do with any goal or any timed pathway is to commit to it, write it down, and then share it with a bunch of people who care about your success. So I don't care what collar you have around here. You're all the same. Is your life getting better for you because you're here or not? If it is, fine, stay. If not, I want you to be happy somewhere else. So, it's a pretty unifying scenario when everyone's kind of chasing something for themselves.
Thank you.
So when's the golf trip?
I just got back 3 weeks ago, and it's actually been my fifth time there. And I got to tell you, it's just something that, there's a lot of cool things in my life. I'm a boater. I collect cars. I love to golf. But I can tell you, when you're standing on a fairway in Scotland, and it's just unbelievable, just like a whole nother dimension.
Great weather. I mean, like this time of the year too. It must have been like 60 degrees out. It must have been perfect out there, right?
We caught a stretch. I've been there in some monsoons too, but we caught a stretch of 7 or 8 days that were all 70 degrees and sunny, which is really unusual. But yes, hey, I'm happy not to bring the rain gear out. That's for sure.
4. All right, gang, let's take a quick time out here from our sponsor.
This episode of the Jake and Gino podcast is brought to you by Wheelbarrow Profits, the premier multifamily education community. Wheelbarrow Profits proof is in their results. Their members have closed over 86,000 units. That's over $5 billion in student deal volume. Are you serious about taking your real estate game to the next level? Do you have the confidence to take action? Schedule a call with the Wheelbarrow Profits team today and supercharge your real estate knowledge. Build lasting relationships through unparalleled networking opportunities. Obtain lasting knowledge on how to buy multifamily real estate with intensive training. Gain hands-on experience through their live events with like-minded individuals and industry professionals, all while experiencing the personal touch and family atmosphere that set them apart. Visit wheelbarrowprofits.com for more information.
All right, we are back. So you're literally hitting this blue collar message at the most optimal time, because I don't think there's any denying the fact that AI is coming for a lot of these jobs. And how do you see that playing out over the next 5 to 10 years? And how do you think that's going to impact your coaching business?
Well, I look at it this way. It's going to be a long time before some robot comes up and plants a tree in your front yard, or replaces a basement wall, or whatever somebody wants. It's going to be a long time before someone, that AI replaces the types of jobs that we do, and the type of blue collar work that's being done. And I was even on Fox News the other day, and they were asking me about this subject. And I said, if you look at all the jobs that are really getting hammered right now, it's the ones where it's super thoughtful brain, like editing a book. Okay, or something like
Librarians,
that. Yeah, stuff
historians.
But computer programmers, there's like a 7% unemployment rate right now. Okay, and what is it? What is it for folks in your industry? 0.5, right?
It's probably negative, because we need 300,000 electricians, we need 500,000 plumbers, we need carpenters. So it's probably negative because we're looking for people all the time, right? And I just think that for me, if you think of the pendulum and how the pendulum swung from, basically a blue collar built this nation to, oh my God, if you're not in higher education, you're going to be a nothing. I think that pendulum is starting to swing back to the middle. And I've been trumpeting and shouting it out. I mean, I'm so happy to be on today with you guys. You are my 320th podcast in the last year and a half. So it's just something that I enjoy doing, because if I can literally change one person, and I know that sounds altruistic and all goofy, but if I can turn one person around and say, you know what, I think I can I can run my own carpenter crew and make a fortune rather than going and getting into debt in some college, then I think I've won there.
Jake, let me ask a question real quick, because I think this is important. Ken, do you think the way they're starting to shift resources to trade schools, the way they're showing the lunacy of a lot of these kids that get out of college, they can't even think clearly, logically, they have no skills for the world. Don't you think that's going to help, or it already is helping the pendulum swing back? Because I see a lot of the trade schools here, they're getting money. They're getting money because I think they see the need for welders, for carpenters.
Well, it's interesting, because I think what's hilarious about colleges is you would think they would know more about supply and demand than anybody, right? Because that's the stuff they're supposed to teach in their business courses.
No, they're not.
Or they're supposed to, but they don't recognize it. So this is what I've said time and again. You literally can't fight the law of supply and demand unless you manipulate the figures somehow. And so it's always going to come back to where what's needed, where demand is low or demand is high and supply is low. That's where the money goes. That's where the activity goes. And that's what you're seeing now. And, people think I've had something to do with that. If that's true, then, put that on my mark for when I'm done, that's something that I did right in this world. But yeah, I think it's just a natural progression for things to come back, because who's going to wait 8 months to get an electrical outlet put in your house and pay $1,200 to do it? I mean, it's just not the way it works. So.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to what you said earlier, because if you go to college 4 years, you're in the whole 200 grand. If you go out today, get certified to be a plumber, 4 years of being a plumber, we'll just say you're making 50 grand, probably on the low end if you're any good at it, right? That's a $400,000 swing. But then at the end of the 4 years, think about this. You get the degree, you might be making 50 grand depending on what you got a degree in when you get out. At the end of the 4 years of being a plumber, you have the opportunity now. You've seen the business for 4 years. Maybe you go out and start your own business at that point. And look, I think that the data is overwhelming that if this is if you want to get rich or have a nice life, whatever, owning your own business is one of the best ways to do that. It's harder as a team member to get really rich. So going out and starting your own business after the 4 years, that is such a better path to me than betting on college.
Well, imagine if you needed to borrow $200,000 to buy a couple of trucks and some sprayers or whatever you wanted to do, and you're already carrying $200,000 in debt from the college you went to. Now you're asking the bank to believe in
Twice
you.
As hard.
They're asking the bank to believe in you to the tune of $400K. And where's the plan to pay both of those loans back to them? You know what I'm saying? Because they're both active. The way I look at it is this.
Well, if you saved your money over the 4 years, maybe you pay cash for the shit, right?
Right. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you earn while you learn? Why would you pay somebody to learn something that you don't even know if you can market when you're done? It's insanity. And yet the parents are like, well, you know what? Nobody ever told me that. The teachers never told me that. The guidance counselors never told me that. The colleges never told me that. They certainly want to. Well, of course they did.
Because they want to keep the money in house, right?
They're on the money side. How many colleges, I looked at this. The top 20 colleges have $320 billion in their endowment funds. I mean, what? For what? What are they doing? And when you ask them what's the money for? Oh, student services. Okay, like what the hell does that mean, right? You can
tax advantage, my friend. They got tax advantage.
You could pay free tuition for the rest of your life to every student on your grounds and not run out of money. I mean, it's really insane. So it has gotten out of hand. But again, the demand drove it up. The demand drove the price up and they created the demand. So they're kind of like the fox watching the hen house, if you think about it.
Well said. Who is your ideal coaching student? Is it someone that's working construction for a few years, or is it someone running the business? What does that look like?
Well, I can just tell you this: the best coaching student for me is the one who can answer the question, "Why am I here?" in a very detailed way. And it doesn't matter what they do. If they can sit across from me and say, all right, I got this plan. I got to get rid of this Visa card, and then I'm going to start saving for a pickup truck, and then I'm going to start putting some money away for a house. And, that's the guy or girl.
You can set them on
I
fire to that path.
Yeah, because what I can do is I can take that usually vague picture and I can turn that into a real concise, clear, timed pathway for them. So now they're marching one step at a time going, okay, I'm progressing every single day along this vision that I see for myself. So that's probably the best student I am.
Do you care to share a success story or two that you've had?
So my number 6 employee ever, Tim Despoth, he's still here today. He's just down the hallway. He's my vice president here. He came to me in 1987 or 8 and said, listen, I think I have to go to GM to work with my dad at the factory because I can make more money there. I really don't want to leave, but my wife has this medical issue and we got bills to pay off there. And I want to get into a house and I want to do these other things. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. Let's just lay it out. So we took a bunch of markers and some paper and we laid out every one of his challenges and the things that he wanted to accomplish. And it was paying off the debt, and then it was buying a brand new black GMC pickup truck, and then it was saving money for down payment on a land contract to buy 3 acres of land, and then it was saving money for the house. And we accomplished every single one of those things. Now he's got 2 houses and rental properties, and he's always driving the best F-250 in the world. And he's still with me here today, and he's actually in the book. And he's an inspiration because all you have to do is point someone in the right direction, the direction that they see for themselves, and then literally get the hell out of their way and show them the progress. And then here we go.
Gino, he created an amazing team member retention strategy to grow the business. I love it. That's great. What about scaling? If you say you have somebody, let's go back to the path. They elected to be a plumber, and they're 4 years in it now, and they got their first truck, and it's them and their wife running the business. Give some tips on next steps and starting to scale the business up from that point.
Well, there's 2 things. So there's a fact and a story. The fact is you and your wife have to sit down and create what you want your life to look like in a very clear fashion. I know I've said that before, but that's what drives how far and how fast you go. Okay. What do you want your life to look like? And we all have different levels of that. We're not all going to want mega yachts and 15 cars and McMansions. Everyone has their level of risk versus reward versus how they want to live. So I need you to come to a conclusion, you and your husband, what exactly is that picture going to look like for you to live? And you go, wow, if I could live like that, that would be really, really cool.
You reverse engineer it.
Yeah. So you start from there. I think the second thing is you can't be afraid to let go of your baby. You can't be afraid to you got to be careful that you're not your own self-limiter. And this happened to somebody. I want to tell you a quick story. So he was an entrepreneur, and he gathered about 7 or 8 people that he thought were really entrepreneurial within his organization. He gathered them around him. He got them into a conference room, and he said, here's a piece of paper and a pencil. I want you to each write down how far you think this company can go in millions of dollars in revenue over the next year above what we're doing now. And before you write down the number, if we hit that number, I'm going to share a piece of that with each one of you. Once you know that each one of the numbers that he got back were $2 million higher than his number. And he was the owner. So he didn't even share his number. That's how embarrassed he was. And also, once you know, they went out, made that goal. They each figured out what they were going to get for themselves should they hit that goal. And boom, they've never looked back. 2 million, 2 million, 2 million. So you just got to be careful that you're not your own worst self-limiter. And that's what happens to a lot of mom and pop shops because
holding themselves back.
Yeah, they don't believe. They just don't believe they can get that big.
Don't stop believing. So you were talking earlier. I think you like golf. And did you say you collect cars as well?
Yeah, that's kind of when I was younger, this is so funny. I wanted to be Richard Petty when I was younger. I wanted to drive the 43 car. You know what I mean? Northwest Ohio didn't bode well for year-round racing for young kids, but I always thought, well, ditch digging is number 99 out of a list of 100 things that I want to do, but it can afford me a lot of cool things. So I ended up collecting cars, and now I race them a couple times a year on a local track here.
So what are you racing over there?
Well, I've got
what do you got in the garage?
I've got a Z07 Corvette. It's a 06 with a racing package on it. I've got a 67 Shelby two-seater, that the little no top kind of thing with the roll bar. And then the one that I race the most is it's a GT500 Super Snake, Shelby Super Snake Mustang. It's got an 850 horsepower supercharger, and it just goes like a bat out of hell. So it's a lot of fun.
So you got like the little garage over at the track, and you can go over and take your buddies out and tear it up.
They're all at my house. I all the cars are in my house in another garage, and then I trailer them over there for when we do this. So it
feels a little more like NASCAR doing that, right?
We call it hillbilly NASCAR because we rent the track and just 8 of us go out there, and I mean hillbilly in the most positive way, believe me. We go out there and just run around the track for 4 or 5 hours.
Take it as a compliment.
And then go home. Go home and fall asleep after that.
Love it. All right, Gino, take us home.
Well, Ken's got a great story because at the age of 15, he decided, you know what? I'm going to work in the office. I'm going to start digging some ditches. When college time comes, Pops is like, well, you know what? Do you want to go to college and hang out for 4 years and maybe not know what you want to do? Why don't you go on around the circuit, pack your suitcase, and go start opening businesses? And I think at the age of 22, when Ken came back, he's like, you know what? I don't really need college. I don't like college. I don't want to go. I just want to start my own business. And he hasn't looked back. After 40 years, he's written an incredible book. As Jake likes to say, the timing couldn't be any better. For any of you out there that are struggling, that don't know what direction they're in, pick up Ken's book, read it. And I think there's and the question that I asked about why is blue collar work being looked down upon, I think we've turned that corner. I think we all know that we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need roofers, we need carpenters. They are the backbone of the economy and of this country because we are all screaming about affordable housing. If we don't have those professionals to be able to do that, we're never going to hit that goal of trying to achieve affordable housing.
Well said, Gino. Ken, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
So if you go to kenrusk.com, you'll see what we're up to there about the book. And we have a course there, and we also do some speaking. And you can go to @KenRuskOfficial on Instagram and all those things that I have younger people help me do because I don't know how to do. And you'll see what we're up to over there as well. So
don't try to get me to subscribe for your app. I'll hit you in the face. Gang, as always, we believe in buying deals for the long term. Think in decades. I'm Jake. He is the G Daddy. We make it happen. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.